Read 3.0 activities. And again, just being able to be creative and being proud of their work, you watch them change, which is going to make their grades in school just go up, because that confidence is going to make them want to work harder. So,
and that's really something very important to instill at that really young age. Now, Read 3.0 has been around for 3 years?
Yes, we started back in 2009.
Okay, and how did the organization come about?
Well, the first goal with Read 3.0 was to really be an advocate for literacy, since it's just so important to me and my work. But when you define literacy, we always think of it as reading. But reading and writing go hand in hand. And after working with a bunch of kids in the schools and teaching them in the summertime, that's when I realized that they're creative and they just needed an outlet to produce, you know, their creativity into something tangible. Mm-hmm. So after Read 3.0 became more of a let's promote reading, let's read 30 minutes a day, create that healthy habit, which is where the Read 3.0, the 30 came from, we kind of just kept going with that. Created the I Write Short Stories by Kids for Kids. So we have the writing piece. And then eventually we've moved on to have the role model leadership piece. So a few of my students who have been published multiple times that are now in high school, they became interns for me this past summer. And they got to be editors at Read 3.0, go through all of these stories. They got to see everything that we do each year to produce these books. And they got to learn a little bit about the publishing industry. Again, just keeping that spark there for wanting to work hard and, you know, and be excited for what they do. Now we are continuing on with a new program called Open Doors. And this program is meant to get these Read 3.0 books that are full of kids' stories written by Kids for Kids into the hands of other kids, other libraries, especially across the Houston area. And I would like to bring in a few of our authors with me on an author visit so that they can share their story with kids that are younger than them, so that the younger kids can look up to some of the older kids, and they'll be able to feel like a leader in the Houston community as well.
That's an amazing program. So it's not just about reading anymore. It's also about the writing and the creativity. And like you said, you now have the high schoolers who are starting to learn how to give back themselves and to kind of teach to younger kids what they were taught and what inspired them to just really continue that path of giving, or the circle of giving, and creating that. One question I want to ask you also, with literacy being so important, comprehension is a real problem sometimes too. So how do you see comprehension with whatever, wow, if I can even phrase that question right, how do you see the comprehension levels of these students when they're creating their short stories, or when they're tasked with maybe a history book that they have to write for homework? How is their comprehension level on those changed?
Yes, and I'm so glad you brought that up. Reading comprehension is a really big deal for kids, and it's gotten harder and harder now that it's really easy to not be focused with everything that's going around with, you know, all the electronic devices that are extremely stimulating and exciting, and there's a whole good piece to that. But there's also that piece that's making it a little bit harder to pick up a book and read and care and understand. I'll tell kids, back when I was their age, my biggest problem as a kid was reading comprehension. I could not remember anything that I read. And that's because as I read, it made me think of things, and I went off into imagination world, which now makes sense that I'm constantly creating stories as an author. So I tell them, you know, I had to come up with tools to help myself, and we discuss some of the things that they can do to stay focused. There are ways that you can continually remind yourself while you're reading, stay focused, stay focused. When you accept the fact that you maybe do have a wandering mind, once you come to that realization and it's something that you want to fix, and if they really, really are interested in being great readers and writers, it's something that I see kids, they do want to fix, they do want to care. Mm-hmm. And just letting them know that, hey, this is something that happens to all of us. I have this problem too. And then they see all of the books that have been produced by someone who had a reading comprehension when they were a kid. And I have to say, I really, really respect the parents who have gotten involved in their kids' lives that may have some type of learning difference or reading disability, because I mean, even just from personal experience, my parents continually encouraging me and finding ways for different learning styles to be brought to the attention of teachers and even myself as a kid, that helped me stay positive. So there are different things when you're teaching kids creative habits to address in creative writing workshops and different things that we can do inside the schools too.
How do you choose what